Bienvenidos, folks. Do not adjust your sets. We are live finally on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel, and it's time for round 4 of the not even Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Where have I been? The E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series Season 7, like I said. Round 4, presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change, and it is the EMSN Mexico 120, and it's going to take place at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, Mexico. This may be a rather unfamiliar voice to some, but I'm still very much here. My name is Jordy Carraher, and I am thrilled to be back on commentary. Before we go any further, I would love to take a moment to sincerely thank the guys at Leadfoot Racing for carrying me over the last few weeks, or replacing me over the last few weeks to begin the season. A lot of things kind of going on in the background, whether it was intentional or otherwise, but here we are now. So once again, thank you so much to the guys at Leadfoot for the cover, and I am back here the rest of the way. And part of the prep to get back into this was to get into things last week, and why not get into it with the results from last week's GTR Motorsports Richmond 150. And as you can see, it was Jordan Kalinian taking his first victory of Season 7 after qualifying third. It's his 20th career NASCAR Series win within the E-Motorsports Network, and that's an important number because it ties him with Corbin McCauley for the all-time lead in terms of overall race wins. And anyone who's watched Jordan Kalinian over the last few years knows his road course acumen, so we could very well be in for something special here tonight at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. But if we take a closer look through the standings, certainly a lot to parse here. Namely, you see a couple of guys who qualified in the top 5 in the form of Blake Thronberg and Will Kern. They got taken out about midway through the session and ultimately never recovered. Thronberg, of course, the reigning Earl Ross Cup champion, had qualified second, ultimately finishes 20th, 21 laps down. Will Kern qualified 5th and finished 23 laps down. Again, some contact about halfway through ultimately did them in. But if we take a look at the overall spectrum of things as it stands after 3 races, you'll see our race leader, or championship leader, I should say, is Bryce Fontaine with 168 points. Of course, picked up that early season victory to boost his standing as well. And yeah, that was just last week at Las Vegas, of course, or 3 weeks ago, I should say. Of course, we did have the week off in between, and that allowed for some adequate prep time on my side to at least get everything back up and running. But you see the victory for Jordan Kalinian last week brings him within 9 points of Bryce Fontaine at the top of the board. Jared Ireland a distant third right now, but still sitting fairly comfortably, just 44 points to the good. And for those who may need a reminder, we've pivoted to the 2026 chase format for this season. So essentially what that means is you're looking at a situation where a win doesn't guarantee you entry into the playoffs. So that is, just further incentive for everybody further down the field to continue on with their racing seasons. And of course, it's still very early to this point. Still lots of opportunities to be able to make up spaces along the way here. So with that in mind, we've still got a few minutes before qualifying set to begin. So yeah, we'll dive a little bit into our first road course of the season. Of course, first time visiting the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Excuse me, as you can hear, I'm a little bit under the weather tonight here as well. So kind of working through that at the same time. And yeah, kind of a calm before the storm here right now. We're going to be running the national layout here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez tonight. So not the full layout you'd perhaps be accustomed to seeing on the Formula One side of things, which comes in around somewhere in the 2.6 mile range, 2.67 to be specific. The national circuit, it takes out a few corners early on. So that'll be the biggest difference between what you might be accustomed to seeing on TV and what our drivers are going to be facing here tonight. And of course, the national circuit is the layout that Excuse me. That's the layout that NASCAR has been using. So essentially what's happening, my word. Sorry about that again, folks. It seems like I'm going for death by commentary, it would appear. And yeah, as I was saying, we're getting into the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the first time. A little bit of a different configuration for the drivers here. They'll be using the national circuit, but it does have the 4 Sol in it. And it measures at 2.43 miles, so just a shade under 4 kilometers for those who happen to be watching from outside the United States. And it should be an interesting one for our drivers here tonight. No one has a real feel for what the speed's gonna be or what a good lap time would constitute here. So I'll be very interested to see how this progresses here. I'm seeing some early practice numbers that clearly show a few standouts, but tonight's format will see a 15-minute qualifying session. And that's going to start here in about a minute. And then from there, it looks like we have a field of, let's just see. Yeah, it looks like we have somewhere in the ballpark of 20 for this session here tonight. We'll get an official number here relatively shortly once we pop up our grid ticker. There we go. Looks like 18, no, 22 in here at the moment. And as you can see, the practice session has ticked down to 0, so qualifying will be starting momentarily. And as soon as we have an opportunity to go to him, we will likely do a hot lap with our winner from last week, Jordan Kalinian. And there we have the reset in place, just waiting for some drivers to come out on track. Looks like we got ourselves a few out laps straight away. Guys looking for some extra practice time, evidently. And let's just see if indeed Jordan Kalinin has gone out. Not quite toward the baseball stadium section yet, which is a signature feature of this Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez track. And instead, we'll pop on with Bryce Fontaine for the time being. Series leader at the moment through 3 races. Oh, no, excuse me. That is Scott Bailey. I thought I hit Fountaine there for a second, but... Oh, no, I know what's going on. And I apologize for being completely insensitive to this. A number of guys, of course, will be running Kyle Busch tribute teams here tonight, given that this is our first race since the unthinkable tragedy happened a couple weeks back. And so we'll go on board with Bryce Fountaine here on his opening hot lap. And this is one of the longest straights these guys will see. And it will take them through this opening chicane named for Moises Solana. And we get to another little mini straight here. And this is the section that'll get cut out in relation to what Formula One drives. Saw Fountaine take the right there straight away, avoiding a couple of the 90 degrees a little bit further on. Now he's going to be navigating the S's here real quick. Trying to get nice and wide there through that one of the final S's. Himself a nice run out of the turn. And now it's another little mini run up to, again, what I referred to as sort of the signature section of the track, known as the Foro Sol, this baseball stadium section. And it's going to be another tight handling part here. Fountaine looks like he's navigated cleanly, and he comes through the Peraltada, which is the final hairpin, very reminiscent of the Parabolica at Monza. We'll see what Fountaine puts on the board for a time. And it may not have been anything at all there. I think that may have been just his out lap. Or, my mistake, 131.131, or 155, excuse me, as Jordan Cleveland eclipses it right behind him, 2/10 up. And so we've got a quick look at a top 5 here right away. Jordan Kalinian on top of the board, as I mentioned, with a 131.136. Bryce Fountaine, who we see right now, is second with a time that's just 2/10 back. Then in third, a guy who's won on a road course before, that being Monza a couple years back, 32 of Charlie Sears out of Charlottesville, Virginia. And rounding out the top 5 is, as Sears gets a little slidey there, and it may have cost a couple of guys behind him. But navigating safely is Jose Mercado. Well, safely-ish. It looks like maybe a little bit of a slide. Anyway, Mercado running 4th at the moment. Mike Marini rounds out the top 5. Only 12 drivers with times on the board so far. Still trying to get a feel for the Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. And I'm not sure if the weather I saw in an earlier test session is indicative of what these guys can expect tonight, but let's go ahead and take a look at what they're dealing with. Okay, not as bad as I thought. Track temperature 52 degrees Celsius, 126 Fahrenheit. Still going to punish those tires. And humidity 47%, not too bad. And we see northeast winds there, so let's get a sense of where we'd be on the compass. As we'll swing over to Mike Marini in the background, currently in 6th place. Oh, excuse me. I think I may have just shown just how sick I was just a moment ago. So my apologies for that. And in the meantime, we're up to 16 drivers with times on the board here right now, out of the 22 who are currently in the session. Blake Thronberg's made his way up to 3rd with a time in the 132s as Going around there was Anthony Schauer. Schauer still yet to post a time in the qualifying session. And let's see if I can go ahead and go with our provisional pole sitter at the moment, Jordan Kalinian. And his Kyle Busch tribute is one of his trucks. So very rare to see Jordan Kalinian running any kind of sponsor livery, but given the occasion, it certainly fits. As we've come up to about the halfway point of this qualifying session now, 750 still on the board. Not 100% sure why it's still showing a checkered flag on there. Race control Corbin, maybe help me in the background with that. Not 100% sure what's happening. Oh. Okay, so I was told almost like he's clairvoyant. Apparently it's a bug that is in place leading up to, well, it's an exclusive to qualifying bug is what I'm being told. Yeah, we'll see. The times have definitely tightened up at the top. Thronberg's gotten a competitive time in there as well. He's also into the 131s. Now, let's go a little bit further down the board here, where we'll find the runner-up from last week, the number 21 of Adam Wilson, currently running a 7 in this session. We'll pop on board with him as he's about to complete another lap. And he promptly dives into pit lane. So that's, fortuitous timing there, I suppose, as Thronberg makes his way through the S's. Definitely a slippery part of this Hermanos Rodriguez track. And I said S's, that was actually, well, technically an S, but it was the opening chicane. See if we can get a sense of the speed these guys are carrying through, as we have a casualty right ahead of Thronberg here, our reigning Earl Ross Cup champion. Downshifting into first to navigate 4-0 solve. And just cranked that into the left to make sure he got his line right. We'll see what kind of exit he gets out of the Peraltada. Short run to the start-finish line, and we'll see if Thronberg improves upon his time. Best time right now, 1:31.409. And unable to beat it that time around, although wouldn't be surprised if maybe that was an outlap. See Thronberg going wide into turn 1. Looks like a relatively clean go through that opening chicane. As we're down under 5 minutes left in this session, and Thronberg didn't like what he was feeling there. So we'll head back out on track, where we find the number 29 GTR Motorsports entry of Mario Ercolani out at Parsons Field, Maine. Second season for Ercolani. Again, unsure if he's... Well, I was about to say I wasn't sure if it was an out lap or a hot lap, but definitely wound up as an in lap as a result of that little slide through the Peraltada that put him right into pit lane. Now, we'll head to Justin Belmonte next. Coming through turns 4 and 5. He's about to navigate these sweeping S's here. Not quite as free-flowing as perhaps Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone would be, but certainly kind of a similar concept. And yet another driver sporting a Kyle Busch tribute here. I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of them over the course of the evening. And as a matter of fact, we will actually, given the way our stages are set up, we've made it set up so that lap 8, which will be during a caution lap, it will be a parade lap in honor of the late Kyle Busch. So stay tuned for that as Belmonte makes his way out of the Peraltada. Set to begin another lap. And Will Kearns jumped up the board here into third, about a half second back of Bryce Fontaine, who's now at the head of the field. Fontaine into the 130s now, 130.896, his best time. And we'll see if anyone can touch him here in the final 2.5 minutes of this session. We'll see if he's improving on this lap at all. And navigating his way through Forosal with some traffic there, it has to be said. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's Fontaine coming in, and it is. So we'll check in on Will Kern now as he makes his way out. Currently sitting third. Best time on the board for Will Kern is a 131.403. 6 thousandths of a second ahead of Blake Throenberg, despite seeing the 0.51 as a deadlock on your leaderboard. So realistically, if you're making your way out, you might have a chance at a hot lap here right at the end of the session. Got to get to that checkered, or the start-finish line, excuse me, before the clock hits 0 to be able to make that happen. And we'll see if we've got any late dramatics here from the field. Kern certainly finding a tighter line, it would appear, through the S's. Swings out of the final S, and now he's into the baseball stadium section. And navigating it cleanly, no traffic ahead of him. So he'll definitely have another shot at it here, as we saw he was just making his way out. Swings it to the outside, and here we go. Let's see what Will Kern's got on his final offering. And his best time right now is 131.403. And we'll see, again, what he has to offer here as the clock is rapidly ticking down to 0. There's 5 seconds left in the session. You see Shower in there behind him. And just navigating turn 4 there rather seamlessly, as we'll check in on Jordan Kalinian once more. We'll attempt to. Oh no, that would be the TV static camera not helping my cause here at all. Coming through the final S is Kalinian with Kern right behind him. And now into the Forosal baseball stadium section. Kalinian, oh, I wonder if maybe he got a little bit wide there. Trying to hammer it around the Peraltada. Maybe a little slide, definitely some contact with the wall. Trying an extreme line there at the end of the lap. And didn't quite catch what Kern was doing. Either way, it wasn't enough to get to Bryce Fontaine. And it looks like the 17 will start on pole, and he's going to have his hyperdrive teammate Will Kern on his outside. Absolute storming lap there at the end from Will Kern out of Dansville, New York. 130.993, so less than a tenth away from Bryce Fontaine, 0.097 to be specific. But there's your qualifying order, and we'll be ready to set up here momentarily. Won't be that long of a turnaround between this and the race itself. So I'm going to grab some much needed water, as you can hear from the sound of my voice, and hopefully we'll have ourselves a smooth call here tonight. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, and it looks like we've got everybody just about gridded up here. Looks like we'll have a field of about 22 from what I was seeing earlier. And I'm not hearing anything from race control just yet. I imagine they're just going over final parameters with the drivers at the moment. Hey, I do hear race control in my ears. Look at that. There we go. So, yeah, we're testing some things in real time here, so I'm really glad that's working. That way, he's another set of eyes and ears. All right, as we wait for drivers to finish gridding up here, we may as well go through our starting grid here. And, I haven't figured out the whole musical accompaniment part of it that we had before, but in the meantime, here's what we've got. And what we have is an all hyperdrive E-Motorsports front row with Bryce Fontaine, our championship leader out of Cape Coral, Florida, occupying pole position for the second consecutive week. And on his outside is the number 31 of Will Kern out of Dansville, New York. Second row, we head to North Carolina exclusively here with the 00 of Jordan Kalinian, last week's winner at Richmond, out of Salisbury, starting in third. On his outside is the reigning Earl Ross Cup champion, the number 3 Control Alt Defeat Motorsports Chevy of Blake Thronberg out of Graham, North Carolina. Rounding out the top 5 is one of our rookies in this series, the number 22 Ford of Anthony Schauer out of Chicago, Illinois, if memory serves me correctly. I got to get my spotter sheet up for this. Anyway, on his outside, my apologies to Anthony there, by the way. On his outside, is the number 41 of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida. Had himself a good run there last week, finishing in third. and he'll start this one in 6th. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the number 32 499 Motorsports entry of Charlie Sears out of Charlottesville, Virginia, starting in 7th. Previous road course winner at Monza back in 2024, which ultimately helped him lock in a spot in the Championship 4 back in Season 5. On his outside is Jared Ireland, driving the number 13 Chevy out of Eudora, Kansas for Blue Collar Racing with the usually Boot Hill Distillery livery, but I imagine he'll be yet another one sporting a Kyle Busch tribute. And looking at row 5 to round out the top 10, we stay in Eudora, Kansas for the third of our Hyperdrive Toyota drivers. That'll be Mason Tomlinson, and with sponsorship from Napa and Moser Racing. On his outside to wrap up the top 10, number 12 of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. We'll move along to the next 10 drivers here. We move to the number 21 of Adam Wilson, driving for Tornado Alley Racing. His Toyota's out of Delmar, Delaware, with sponsorship from Budweiser and Mount Air Fresh Young Chicken. On his outside, we find the number 60 Ford of Justin Belmonte out of Pachago, New York. We never actually figured out the pronunciation. I should have done that. Driving for Warrior Racing. And as I say, he's starting in 12th in this one. Moving to row 7 now, we have the number 93 of Tom Janikowski, driving for Big T Motorsports out of Appleton, Wisconsin in his Chevy. And on his outside, as we start the one pace lap here, I would imagine, starting in 14th will be the number 29 of Mario Ercolani, driving his GTR Motorsports Toyota out of Parsonsville, Maine, with sponsorship from RacingUI.com. On to row 8 now, where we find in 15th, it's car 15. That's Kyle Knoll out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Sponsorship from Storm Surge Esports, Cheerwine, and Race Lab. And he's got the Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champion on his outside, starting in 16th out of Morgantown, West Virginia, driving the Blue Collar Racing Chevy. It's Ryan Gibson with sponsorship from Jean's Beer Garden, specifically the Jean's Machine. On to row 9 now, we head to Calgary, Alberta next, where we find the number 25 Ford of Matt McDonald. And on his outside, we go to one of our rookies, the number 42 Ford of Tyler Fitzsimmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. On to row 10 now, we have guys who didn't set times. McDonald and Fitzsimmons didn't either. But 2 more who didn't set times. The number 1 Tornado Alley E-Racing Toyota of CD Mangrum out of Atlanta, Georgia, starting 19th. And on his outside, the number 6 Ford of Lee Campbell out of Ballston Spa, New York, starts this one 20th. And our back row, 2 more guys who did not set times. Mike Nickens out of St. Augustine, Florida, with sponsorship from U.S. Navy and Logitech. And on his outside, to round out the field, it's the number 5 of John Williams, driving for Midpack Motorsports out of Moyock, North Carolina. And it turns out I actually did do the prep work on Belmonte's hometown pronunciation. So that's Patchogue, New York. And as they come through the S's, we'll go through some race summary info real quick. It's going to be 50 laps here. Oh, no, that's not the tab I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and ditch that. Race analysis, that's the tab I want. Still figuring out the production side of things, folks. So, 50 laps tonight on this track. 3 stages, of course. 6 laps, specifically to be able to do lap 8 as the Kyle Busch tribute parade lap. 16 in stage 2. 28 in stage 3. 17 laps for a fuel window, so you're looking at 1 green flag pit stop. And no one has won yet. Of course, this is the first time we've been here. So let's see what these guys are capable of as Bryce Fontaine's going to meet the green flag here this time around. Andale, arriba, let's go racing, boys. And here we go, Fontaine off the line, nice and quick. Kalinian with a nice jump. Kern maybe asleep at the wheel there a little bit, as it looks like Thronberg's trying to get around the outside. Great getaway, though, from Fontaine and Kalinian. Man, oh man, it's looking like an interstate there going into turn one. But it looks like Fontaine and Kalinian are going to get through clean. Jose Mercado with a nice little move up into fifth. And it looks like it's relatively clean, I have to say, through turn one. Relatively single file. Kyle Knoll jumping up a couple of spots there into 13th, started 15th. And yeah, definitely dropping down the board there a little bit was Adam Wilson off the start. Finds himself down in 11th now. But it looks like we've got ourselves a bit of a show in the early going. As we'll go on board now with our race leader, Bryce Fontaine. As soon as I can actually get him in the proper camera shot. There we go. Kalinian right on the back of him, though, as they go through Foro Sol for the first time. And through the Peraltada. And that's going to be one lap in the books here. So, yeah, Fontaine with a good early lead here. Kalinian just kind of biding his time here. And they for now half a second gap between Fontaine and Kalinian at the head of the field. Blake Thronberg not letting them get away either. He's a further half second back. Fontaine with a nice early run here through the opening chicane here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And the track itself, for a little bit of historical context, is named for a pair of brothers from Mexico. It won't be a shock to learn as Kalinian tries to shape for a move here potentially. Anyway, the track is named for a pair of brothers, hence the Hermanos translation. Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, both of whom were former racing drivers, both of whom actually passed away on track, oddly enough. So a bit of a crazy bit of symmetry there. So the younger Rodriguez was Ricardo, and he passed in a practice for the Mexican Grand Prix in 1962 on this configuration. And then in 1971, that's when Pedro passed, coming through this very Peraltada turn. As we move on to lap 3 of this opening stage. Again, the stages are 6, 16, and 28 here, so definitely a bit of a long haul here in the back half. But definitely some separation has been had already through the field. We'll drop a little bit further down to see if we can get ourselves a good midfield battle to watch. And that'll have us landing on our Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champion, a guy I'm very happy to see back, is Ryan Gibson, as it looks like he's sliding by Ercolani here. Battle for 13th place on track. Gibby started this one in 60. Definitely had a dominant opening season. 6 of his 7 wins came way back in Season 1. I think he's only had the 1 season within iRacing with us, a couple of years away. But happy to see our OG champ back. As that'll be yet another Kyle Busch tribute scheme being run. Meanwhile, we'll go back to the head of the field. Let's watch things from Blake Thronberg's perspective here, shall we? Actually, never mind. 1 car further back, Will Kern. That way we can get a good look at our top 3 as they begin lap 4. And Kern finds himself about 2 seconds behind his hyperdrive teammate Bryce Fontaine on track. See what kind of draft Kern's able to get from the 3 guys ahead of him on this super long straight.
Made up appears to be about a 10th in the braking zone there. Maybe more. Perhaps a little bit of a mistake up ahead from Fountaine. And we'll just continue to watch things from Kern's perspective here real quick. As I start to navigate through the S's, this will be a good indicator to get a sense of the direction change these drivers are feeling. Again, maybe not as tight or as sweeping an S as you might get in, say, an open wheel category, but certainly still a handle to try and figure out. As, no, that's not the camera angle I want. Let's go ahead and get back here into the baseball stadium section. These four have clearly separated themselves from the rest of the field. It'll be 2 laps remaining in this opening stage. Meanwhile, let's go a little further down in the meantime, where we have a decent battle developing here between Charlie Sears and Jared Ireland. This will be for 7th place. And Ireland looks like he's got a good run here on the straight. Trying to get to Sears with Shower up ahead. And Ireland makes that look fairly elementary, it has to be said. And Marini might shake for a move here. And he's got the position as well, so not an ideal straightaway there for Charlie Sears. Lost a couple of positions along the way. Maybe able to reclaim something through some of the more technical parts of the circuit. And again, that would be yet another Kyle Busch tribute that we're seeing. Oddly enough, with all the 8s that we're seeing on track here tonight, the guy who actually drives the number 8 is being Scott Bailey out of Allendale, Michigan, not with us here tonight. So a little bit of an irony, almost a cruel one, so to speak, in terms of how that turned out. But certainly the number will remain well represented over the course. We'll bring it back to Lil Kern here. Currently running 3rd. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I would imagine that's yet another Busch tribute. Yeah, just with a 3 instead of the early number 5 from back in the day. As we're on to the final lap now, this opening stage. Of course, it went by relatively quickly, given that it was just the 6 laps to begin the stage. Or to begin the race, so to speak. But it looks like Bryce Fountaine has everything relatively under control here. And so we'll hop on board with him. Or we'll keep an eye on him, I should say. As it looks like yeah, he might be coming up on lap traffic here straight away. As we have 2 retirements already in the form of Mason Tomlinson and John Williams, so not the night either of them would have been looking for. As, Fountaine gets a little bit loose going into 4-0 Sol. Let's see if, well, actually, maybe I should adjust my eyes. It's actually Jordan Kalinian who's ahead. Not sure if it was Kalinian just getting through there at the very end. But nevertheless, last week's winner maintains the momentum. Jordan Kalinian takes stage 1 of tonight's E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120. And the caution flags come out to begin lap 7. And so there's a look at your top 10. Jordan Kalinian taking the stage. Bryce Fountaine 2nd. Blake Thronberg in 3rd. Will Kern 4th. Jose Mercado rounds out your top 5. Anthony Shower with a solid drive there to pick up 6th in the stage. Jared Ireland 7th. Mike Marini in 8th. Charlie Sears 9th. And the number 60 of Justin Belmonte rounds out your top 10. So, solid run for those guys. Solid haul of points. never hurts to be able to kind of keep yourself pointed forward, especially on a road course. And again, sincere apologies for the utter scratchy nature of my voice here tonight. Just getting over a little bit of a bug here myself. Just kind of figuring it all out. But speaking of being under the weather, seems like a good time to check in on our current weather conditions. So, partly cloudy. Track temperature's gone down from what we saw in qualifying. It was in the low 50s there, Celsius, mid 120s Fahrenheit, down to 47 degrees Celsius, 117 Fahrenheit at this point. Humidity getting a little bit lower. And winds from the northeast, which, if we're looking at a track map, I actually had this right in front of me here a moment ago. So north would be a headwind down the second straightaway, basically. And from the northeast, that would be, yeah, pretty much a headwind down that secondary straight, like I said, as the drivers get all bunched up. And I mentioned it off the top here, but as a bit of a reminder, once lap 8 begins, we will be doing a parade lap in honor of the late Kyle Busch. I'll be going silent here on the mic, and presumably pit stops would follow, as Kalinian leads the field through the Fort Osal baseball stadium section. So we'll go ahead and clear everything off of our screen here as soon as we're ready. And so we hope you'll join us in what's been an incredibly sad couple of weeks here. This is our opportunity to remember the life and everything that Kyle Busch brought to NASCAR. Well, maybe a little premature. They're hitting the line right about now. So, again, now that lap 8 has officially begun, I say I'll go ahead and clear out as we will officially remember Kyle Busch. All right, we're officially on lap 9 now, and we're officially on pit road here for the first time. Let's see who's going to make their way out first. Looks like Fontaine's just going to get that win there off the pit lane. Let's see if we can get a better angle of it. And no, it looks like Kalinian actually beat him out. And I would imagine we're looking at, after this lap, probably one more under the pace car, meaning we'll be starting up again on lap 11. So we'll have 12 competitive laps here in stage 2. And we'll see if anyone's able to make a bit of a mark this time around. And yeah, not really seeing a ton there that kind of got my attention. You would think, given the nature of tonight's race, most of the field will be operating on similar strategies here, at least in the first stage. And so what I might actually do is hand it off for a sponsor read for the first time here tonight, as coverage of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change continues here on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. Stay with us.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, you would have just seen the pace car lights shut off there as we cross the start-finish line, so that means we are going green next time by, as I had initially suspected. And again, that'll mean we're looking at 12 competition laps here. And we'll do a quick run through the order here. Again, not a ton of things changed from what we saw at the end of the stage. Jordan Kalinian continues to lead despite it showing Bryce Fountaine. It will be Kalinian taking the green flag. Fountaine on his outside will start the stage in second. Will Kern in third, the second of the 3 hyperdrive drivers, the third being Mason Tomlinson, who was listed as out, but it looks like he's gotten himself back on track. And Will Kern running in fourth. And it's kind of alternating here between, well, it looks like it'll be Anthony Schauer who takes the line in fifth. Jose Mercado on his outside in sixth, just running a little bit differently on account of how they're gridded up at the moment. Starting the stage in seventh will be the number 12 of Mike Marini. Jared Ireland on his outside starts this one eighth. Kyle Knoll starts the stage at ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Justin Belmonte. And then we'll continue down the field a little bit. Adam Wilson starts the stage in 11th. Or is that Ryan Gibson who will be starting? Gibson and Wilson are kind of trading spots at the moment. Really have a good visual. It looks like it will be Wilson there based on Jimmy being on the outside line. And let's do a little bit of a race summary here so far. You're not going to see a whole lot here, given that road courses don't really give us cautions. But you will see, yeah, just the one caution, one lead change. So Fountaine led the lion's share of that opening stage, only to be usurped by Jordan Kalinian at the end. And Kalinian's lap 4 is the fastest lap of the day at a 1:31.506. But none of that matters now, as we're coming through the 4-0 Sol here for the final time in this caution. This time around, Kalinian's grabbing the green flag, and we are back underway very shortly. Through the Peraltada one last time. And there's the dip from the pace car. And Kalinian's got the timing line. He's getting a bit of a push from behind by Thronberg there as well. And we're green once again in tonight's E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120. Thronberg might be trying to dive for the inside here going into 1. We'll see how Kalinian holds his nerve. He's able to kind of sweep it around the outside, forces Thronberg into a bit of a tight entry there into turn 1. But Thronberg has the entry coming back through the ladder car chicane. Now it's the fight Fountaine though for second. And those two will trade spots. But Thronberg with the inside line into 4. This is going to be a good battle here for second. And the guy who's going to be loving a battle there is Jordan Kalinian, as he'd love to get any kind of breathing room he can. Ooh, near miss there from Thronberg on the barrier coming through the S. Oh, Kern slides. What a save. And it looks like Ireland just avoided him there coming out of that final S. Let's take another look at that, actually. We'll go back about 20 seconds. See if we can get another look. And yeah, there's Kern just sliding it ever so slightly. And I forgot to take the ticker off of that replay, so big old my bad there. Still, like I said earlier, getting a bit of a handle on the production side of things, as we'll fire it back up live here now. And we once again see the same battle we've been seeing. Jordan Kalinian leading. Blake Thronberg right on his rear bumper there in second. Bryce Fountaine not looking to fall back at all here. 6/10 separating these three. And Fountaine maybe looking to get aggressive on the run into 4. Eventually just tucks in behind Thronberg. And again, those two fighting, that's going to allow Jordan Kalinian maybe not necessarily to storm away from them over the course of the stage, but if they're preoccupied with each other, it certainly makes the double zeros job a little easier. As we'll take a look through the field here to see what kind of battles we can get. I was about to say an all-Canadian battle, but it looks like Mike Marini might have had a little bit of a slip there a moment ago, as he's fallen down to 19th. Let's see what happened to the 12 here just a moment ago. Was running solidly there for a good few minutes. And let's see if we can take another look here, see if I don't think my replays are playing nice with me at the moment. So, you know what? We'll just go back live. Throw the ticker back on. It looks like Marini's sufficiently recovered. He's gotten himself back up to 18th. But again, let's see where we can find other battles here. And I think I might have one from the vantage point of one Kyle Knoll. Currently running 8th, trying to get to the back of Justin Belmonte just ahead of him. Knoll with a nice tight run through 4 and 5. Ooh, narrowly missed the barrier there. Oh, a little bit of a wobble there as a result, though. Might have gotten a little too close for comfort, did the 15. And as a result, that's going to potentially see him fall down the field here a little bit. Just a little bit discombobulated there from Kyle Knoll out of Raleigh, North Carolina. But we'll go back up to our lead battle here, as things have definitely spread out here. Kalinian now leading by 2.25 seconds over Thronberg. But very quietly, Anthony Schauer making his way up the field. He's kind of best of the rest at the moment, running in 4th. Under some pressure here from Will Kern and Jose Mercado. But the Party City 22 driving for whatever. K-Tan Racing. If I pronounce that wrong, please let me know. Again, I'm still kind of getting my feet wet back here in Season 7. But this is shaping up to be a pretty good battle here between these 3, 4 through 6. Just barely a second separating them. And Kern with a nice run through that last test, running super wide there. That's where he'd gotten sideways earlier, but holds the line this time around, keeping Schauer honest right ahead of him. And it looks like a decent run here for the 22. Running wide, we'll see what kind of pace he's able to keep. And evidently that's not a track limit concern there. However, that's a Will Kern concern right on his rear bumper coming down this straight. We'll see if Kern tries to shape for a move. There he goes. But it looks like Schauer is able to hold the speed. A little bit of a bobble there into 1. See if Kern can take advantage out of the exit. And Schauer able to hold on here. As we'll hop back up to the head of the field where, again, it's Jordan Kalinian leading the way here. Gap still a little over 2 seconds here over Blake Thronberg in 2nd. Bryce Fontaine
Close to 5 seconds back in 3rd.
And Kalinian, as we've seen over the years, is a guy who just looks comfortable on these road courses. And I know how many times we've spoken about, all the practice and effort he's put in, and especially on a new track like this, maybe not a surprise to see him ultimately having the kind of run he's having so far. Just had to check on Thronberg for a second. I thought he might have run a little too wide coming through the 4 Sol, but it looks like it's all good. Meanwhile, we've got ourselves a battle there. Schauer and Kern going at it. Schauer again taking that wide line out of the Peraltada. Able to slip in behind Kern ahead of Mercado, but that's position to Will Kern. But Mercado might have something to say about it, trying to punish Schauer a little bit more. He's got the inside run into 1. Good close racing here. Looks like Schauer will hold the position for the time being. Oh, a little bit of slide out of the back end of the Moises Solana chicane there. We'll see what kind of run Mercado gets. And it looks like he's going to grab 5th. And indeed, there's the move made as we focus on Will Kern still. As we'll head back to Bryce Fontaine. running in third place at the moment. Just confidently going through the baseball stadium section. Oh, a little bit of a tight run there from Thronberg. Couldn't quite get the wheel turn. And we'll see if Fountain can take advantage on the main straight here as we're going on to lap 16 now, Kalinian, or 17. So 6 laps remaining in the stage. Gap now up to roughly 4 seconds there for Jordan Kalinian. And we'll check in on CD Mangrum here. He's quietly made his way up through the field. Started this one 19th after not setting a qualifying time. Now running 8th. Trying to hold off Kyle Knoll for the position. And as they come through the first chicane here, looks like the number 1 will hold on. And we'll see if Knoll's close enough for a move into 4. I don't think he will be. We will throw some different cameras on here for now. And there's Ryan Gibson lurking in the background there, rounding out the top 10. This battle here, roughly 22.5 seconds back of our leader, Jordan Kalinian, on track. As things have definitely spread out on track here, with the exception of the battle for 11th through 13th. You see Lee Campbell currently holding 11th place out of Ballston Spa, New York. He's got Mario Ortolani hot on his heels. Both running wide through for Osal. We'll see if Jared Ireland in 13th can take advantage. And was there a little bit of contact between these two? Maybe, maybe not. Still an interesting battle here in the midfield. Campbell holding on admirably. Ercolani looking to retain the position. But Ireland might get a good run here down the straight. Cuts back into the slipstream. And they're coming up on Anthony Schauer here, who must have made a mistake somewhere to drop down to 10th. Lost some valuable time. Was running as high as 4th earlier, was the 22. So a little bit of a surprise to see the Party City livery, dropping back as far as it has. And we will now, as good as this battle is, and now it's shaping up to be a 4-car battle as they swallow up Schauer here. Let's see if we get another battle here to look at. It looks like we've got 3 retirements now, as both Mike Nickens and Tyler Fitzsimmons join John Williams on the sidelines. Nathan Tomlinson still running, albeit 7 laps down in 21st. Campbell trying to hold the inside line here. Ireland's gotten ahead of Ercolani. Let's see what he can do on the main straight. A rather entertaining battle here between these 3. All 3 electing to make full use of that extra bit of runway there on the outside. As we're down now to 4 laps remaining in the stage. Jordan Kalinian continues to lead this one. And there'll be 3 to go in this middle frame here once we make our way to the line here once again. Gap down to about 3.5 seconds here now, but I think that might be just Kalinian keeping things in control for now. And as he's set to begin lap 20, we'll dip down to another midfield battle that we were kind of seeing develop in the background of the other one. But now we're going to go with Adam Wilson running in 15th, trying to catch Mike Marini for 14th. Gap there about a second and a half. Again, not a ton going on otherwise outside of the battles we've already more or less profiled. But one thing we are seeing still is CD Mangrum continuing to make a bit of a march through the field. He's moved up to 7th now. And we'll actually take a look at what he's been doing here. Yeah, started 19th, currently 7th, and yeah, this is highest point here to date. And certainly a nice bounce back for him after, what am I looking for here? After not having the best run of form at Richmond there last week. Sorry, the old brain's a little foggy here on me now as we move through this second stage. And I'll go ahead and shut that one off. There we go. We're, again, still kind of figuring it out on the fly here, if we're being completely honest. Yeah, but one guy who certainly seems to have it figured out now as he's begun lap 21 is our race leader, Jordan Kalinian. 4.1 seconds up on Blake Thronberg right now. And it looks like they've put Charlie Sears a lap down. 15 cars on the lead lap still. And 19 still on track with 3 retirements to this point. And as Kalinian goes to get ready to take the white flag here in this stage, we'll revisit that battle in the back half of the top 10 one more time. Kyle Knoll here running in 8th. There's his Storm Surge Esports Toyota. Trying to get to the back of CD Mangrum. And has Ryan Gibson lurking behind him. So definitely some solid racing pedigree surrounding the 15 here, as they try to negotiate some lap traffic. Oh, maybe even a little bump forward there from Noel on Mangrum. And as they come into the baseball stadium here again, we'll see if Noel can get him on the outside inside here. And, oh, that got a little sketchy there, it has to be said. That looks like it's Ireland who got turned around. I think that's the Busch livery I'm seeing. As, yeah, he wound up 1 lap down here somewhere along the way. So let's go back there. Let's see what we can make of this, potentially. I did click on him. Yeah, maybe I was running a little early. I'm not sure. Well, looks like we're okay there for now. But again, I'll tell you who's more than okay is our race leader, Jordan Kalinian, who is coming through the baseball stadium section for the final time. And he is shaping up to sweep the stages here as he makes the final run through the Peraltada. We'll join him for the final trip down the start-finish line. Jordan Kalinian, Stage 2 winner for tonight's E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120. So, stop me if you've heard this one before. Jordan Kalinian wins the stage. And we're just waiting for the official word before the caution comes out. to get our final standings here. Matter of fact, let's see if I can get to that last battle in time. Not sure if I'll be able to. Oh, here we are. We're in the baseball section here now with Ryan Gibson running at 8th, coming out of the Carroll-Tata for the final time, actually. Trying to swing it, but he'll hang on to 8th. Anthony Schauer comes in behind him. And that is going to drop the caution here, it would appear. As it looks like Mike Marini will grab the final points paying position, and it is absolutely not Ryan Gibson who won the stage. Got some points, but of course he did not win the stage. That, of course, is Jordan Kalinian. There we go. Now it's updated. So there's your top 10 after stage 2. Jordan Kalinian, your stage winner, as he was in stage 1. Blake Thronberg, 2nd. Bryce Fontaine, 3rd. Will Kern, 4th. Jose Mercado rounds out your top 5. Justin Belmonte is 6th. Kyle Knoll with a strong run here to finish 7th. Ryan Gibson, 8th. Anthony Schauer, 9th. And as mentioned, Mike Marini finishes off your top 10. And yeah, as others have noted, my voice is kind of starting to die here, so I'm going to take a break for the duration of this caution, and we'll be back for stage 3, and probably an extended crank it up if we're going to be completely honest here. All right, we're back here as we're on the final caution lap before stage 3 begins. And what you're seeing is Will Kern having dropped down to 13th. Turns out, despite the nice entry or nice exit he appeared to get as we were watching the pit stops there between stages, he might have gotten a little too greedy on the old gas pedal, picked up a speeding penalty in pit lane, and now finds himself in 13th. So he's going to have to fight through the field, but he's got lots of time to do it. He'll have 24 green flag laps as we go back up to the head of the field, where it's status quo on the front row. Jordan Kalinian leading Bryce Fontaine off the line is what we'll have play out. And thanks to that little bit of good fortune, Jose Mercado will move up to 4th on the restart, with Blake Kronberg taking the inside there. Car 3 will start P3. And it's going to be Justin Belmonte rounding out the top 5. Rather quiet run there for Belmonte to sneak into that position. Kyle Noel on the outside in 6th. Anthony Shower sticking around in 7th. Ryan Gibson, Season 1 champ, in 8th, or I might actually have them flipped. No, it looks like it'll be Shower in 7th, given where Kalinian's positioned. Ercolani 9th. Lee Campbell will round out the top 10 as we get back into the baseball stadium section here. And as you can see, the pace car's lights are off, so we are going green this time around. And as they come under the bridge out of the stadium section, come through the Harold Kata now. And there's the pace car dipping off. And Kalinian looks like he's had an early takeoff here. Kronberg going with him. And stage 3 is officially underway in tonight's E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120. Kronberg with a nice run in there. Fontaine considering a look down the inside, but nothing doing there. And so it'll be Kalinian leading them through turn 1. Someone going a little wide there. Was that Belmonte, perhaps? Losing position to Kyle Noel, so that certainly tracks. And we'll see if we can go back to Justin Belmonte there from about... By the time I get this sorted out, we'll call it 30 seconds ago. Go ahead and turn the ticker off, figure all these things out. And let's see, there you kind of saw it a little bit in the background. Wound up losing the position to Kyle Noel, as I mentioned. Now he's got Ryan Gibson on his back here, looking for 6th place. And Noel running, dangerously wide there going into Foro Sol. Belmonte might be able to get his position back straight away here. He gets a good run out of Aerodata. 15 just hopping around. And he goes sideways. So that's going to cost Noel a couple of positions here. Has maybe just carried a little bit too much speed. Tires maybe a little too cold there. And you saw the end result as Noel tries to get himself back into focus. We'll go ahead and take another look at that, if we can. There you see it, kind of smoky already. Get the best look on that, has to be said. Let's see if I can sneak it back here, because he was already wide, it has to be said. Come through there, you see him kind of at the bottom of the screen, and you'll get a good look at it here. And I don't know if it was just looks like a little too much wheel spin out of that final turn. which, again, it bears similarities to the Parabolica at Monza, except there's a little bit of banking to it, so that means you can keep even a little more speed on theirs. We'll go back up to the head of the field. And just getting word here of another incident involving Anthony Schauer and Mario Ercolani. So Schauer, as a result, is going to find himself with a drive-through penalty. So that's a live race control verdict here. So let's see how far we can go back to be able to kind of figure out what went down between those two as Schauer goes in to serve. So there you see Schauer in the back. Had he already hitted Ercolani at that point? Yeah, I don't see the 29 in view there, so he might have to go even further back. So let's see if we can find it here. There's the initial spin from Noel. Should go ahead and turn off the ticker there to make it obvious in the replay. Okay, probably a little bit too far back for me to realistically try and find it at this point. Yeah, I think I just missed it, but we probably shouldn't miss too much more, actual race coverage here. Especially since we've got ourselves a good battle for second place between Blake Thronberg and Bryce Fountaine as they come into the baseball stadium section. Fountaine right on the back here of Thronberg. And, Thronberg with a little bit of a dicey exit there. And that's going to allow Fountaine to get through for second. Might have just run a little bit wide into that first part of the Foro Sol chicane there. And as a result, that's going to allow Fountaine to grab the position. And we'll see what kind of an answer Thronberg has, but doesn't appear anyone has a real answer for Jordan Kalinian right now, as he's 4.5 seconds clear of that battle. Okay, getting a semi-replay here of what happened between Ercolani and Schauer. Let's see here. And from what I'm seeing, yeah, that's just a full-on bump from Schauer in the back. Just a crazy sequence there, actually, between Schauer, Ercolani, and Will Kern was in there as well. Managed to avoid the carnage. And speaking of Kern, after that penalty, he's climbed back up all the way to 5th. So, again, we talked about him being 13 there at the restart as a result of that penalty that he took for speeding. And, yeah, he's already driving his way up the field, and we'll see if he's able to join the battle here for 3rd by the end of the stage here, by the end of the race. And, of course, notably for this stage, we are looking at a green flag pit stop here. We've got a 17-lap pit window. And as you can see, there's still 20 laps to go, meaning we're looking at guys pitting. Some could conceivably pit as early as 3 or 4 laps from now. Some might want to stretch it. There is a little bit of a window that guys can work with. I wonder if maybe the more balanced approach will work better given the relative unfamiliarity with the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez here. But that'll all present itself in due time, as we'll take a peek at our, well, no, not race analysis, race summary. That's what we want. So yes, just the 2 cautions. Jordan Kalinian picking up an even faster lap than the one we were talking about earlier. And he would have actually just posted that fastest lap, 1:30.247, which is right up there with the pole position time that Bryce Fountaine set. So definitely speed to be had here at Hermanos Rodriguez. Just a matter of keeping it and keeping control. As we'll go ahead and cut that off. And it looks like we've got a little bit of a good battle brewing here again in the midfield. Jared Ireland and Adam Wilson. We've got here less than a half a second between them. Indeed, here it is. This is for 11th place on track. See what kind of a run Wilson can get on the straight. But as good as that battle is, we'll actually skip ahead a little bit. At least as soon as I can find him here in my board. We want to get to Mike Marini in 8th. Justin Belmonte right there in, well, 6 through 8 is what we're seeing. Oh, getting some word here from Race Control. Blake Thronberg just had a bit of a moment. And let's see if we can go back and take a look at what happened. Not sure if it'll take me to where I want to go, hopefully. Oh, yeah, there it is, right at turn 4. And yeah, just, again, maybe a little bit too much drive coming through 4. Cost him a couple of positions. As he's going to try and fight back on Kern. Through the S's, that's always a fun place to try and go. And it looks like Thronberg gets the position back. Yeah, we're back live here now. Suddenly, you know, that's Thronberg most likely out of contention for the win here now, unless he decides to go qualifying mode here the rest of the way. But this could be a good battle here for 4th place between Thronberg and Kern. Now you have to wonder if Thronberg will be a little more careful. Even a little bit of a wobble there coming through the first part of that chicane. But out front, Jordan Kalinian leads this one by 7 seconds with 18 laps to go. And again, as a reminder, if he holds on, this would be career win number 21 for Jordan Kalinian within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. And that would set the all-time wins record in 2.5 seasons for Kalinian. So that tells you the level of quality we're working with here, as noting the retire. Oh man, Thronberg even flipping that barrier perhaps through the S's. I was just about to note the retirement of CD Mangrum here as well. Now listed as out. Ooh, Thronberg maybe with a little bit of a wide run there into the baseball stadium section. We'll see if Kern can take advantage. Looks like Thronberg's got it back under control for now. And yeah, right behind us here, it looks like Justin Belmonte may have had himself some wall troubles here too. Yeah, it looks like he's diving into pit lane, but he will go ahead and figure out what happened. So this should be the initial run here. I don't know why it's with Marini straight away. Hopefully we'll see what happened to Belmonte here in the meantime. Yeah, we're with him here now, coming through the baseball stadium. Even a little bit too much curb there, perhaps. And yeah, I wonder if maybe it was another case of me just missing it. And nevertheless, he's in pit lane, perhaps for an extended period of time. So we'll fire it back on track to Kyle Knoll in 11th. as we'll bring it back now to Jose Mercado running in third place. A little bit of a hop through the exit of that chicane, but he's got 6.5 seconds between himself and Blake Thronberg in fourth, who's still looked a little bit adventurous at first, but then Will Kern took the same line there in the background, so not an ounce of worry. And speaking of not an ounce of worry, we'll head back to our race leader. We'll go on board with him here. And I'm going to go ahead and get some water, and we're going to go ahead and crank it up. Even though we don't have the TrackCams22.com cameras set up for this, we still have appreciated their contributions over the last few seasons. So, with that being said, again, we will step aside here for a moment. As you can tell, I absolutely need it. And we'll be back on the other side, possibly with some pit stops. But we know, right now, we're going to be cranking it up. All right, we are back in play here for the final 12 laps of tonight's E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120 within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. As you can see, Jordan Kalinian still very much in control, but he's headed into pit lane right about now. So he's tucked in behind Ryan Gibson. Bryce Fontaine will assume the lead for the time being. And the gap had gotten up to about 7.5 seconds before Kalinian came into pit. Looks like a fairly seamless pit stop there from the 00. We'll just go back to confirm. Oh, that might be a little bit longer than expected. I wonder if I'll hear anything from race control on that. Or actually, he might be tucked in behind the fence now that I think about it. Oh yeah, there he comes. Yeah, I think I mistook him for Ryan Gibson in the background. So, we'll go back to our race leader, Bryce Fontaine. And Fontaine, as he comes through the S's, of course, has yet to stop in this third and final stage. And the gap on track is about 30 seconds. So again, Fontaine leading. Kalinian rejoins in second. Mike Marini third. Kyle Knoll fourth. Jose Mercado's fifth. We briefly saw him going into pit lane. And given the extended straightaway here, it feels like it's a longer pit stop, so I don't really have a full sense of what we're looking at time-wise here for Fontaine if he was to pit now, but it looks like he's gonna... No, he is diving in. So Fontaine looking to cover off Kalinian as best as he can. We'll see where Kalinian is on track. And he's coming out of the S's, it would appear. Yeah, he's into the baseball stadium section. So it feels academic that Jordan Kalinian will reclaim the lead here on this pit stop. Unless Fontaine decides to do something crazy. But somehow I don't think that'll be the case. And we'll get it from this view. We'll see if passes Fontaine there. And indeed, he's still on pit lane. So Jordan Kalinian has regained the race lead, with Fontaine and Mike Marini both on pit lane. Fontaine rejoins the gap about 8.5 seconds now to Jordan Kalinian, rapidly rising. And yeah, now we'll see things spread out a little bit more, although could have a good battle here for third between Jose Mercado and Will Kern. Common acquaintances here throughout the course of the evening. And about a second separating those two. A little over a further second back is Blake Thronberg after recovering from the initial spin right in that particular turn 4. And yeah, now you see Jordan Kalinian's lead just growing exponentially here. It's into the double digits now. 11 seconds there at one point. As we're down to 10 laps to go in tonight's E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120. See if this battle takes any kind of shape here. Doesn't look like anything will come of it on this lap. Usually that's about the time race control comes in my ear and says I missed something stupid, but we're going to take the chance and go to Jared Ireland trying to catch Charlie Sears, and Mike Marini for that matter. So Ireland trying to track down two former road course winners here. Mike Marini, of course, the two-time winner at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park way back in the day, at a time where both of us were considerably younger. But then, as mentioned earlier, Charlie Sears with the win at Monza 2 seasons ago. But a little bit squeamish there coming out of the Peraltada here to end this lap. And we're down to single digits now. 9 laps to go in tonight's Mexico 120. And while we continue to monitor this battle, we will go to, well, we'll just take another camera angle of it. Ireland now up onto the back of Sears. About 0.4 of a second separating these, or 1.4 seconds, excuse me. But now it looks like we have a good battle shaping up for fourth. Thronberg and Kern again. Common acquaintances here on track. Mercado right there in the mix here as well, trying to hang on to third. And these three will come across. They're 10 seconds adrift of Bryce Fontaine in second, who is himself 10 seconds adrift of our race leader. And, you know, if he hangs on, could soon become our all-time leader for race wins. As Jordan Kalinian's looked solid here is from the moment he took the lead late in stage one. It's been pretty much under his thumb the rest of the way. As it looks like Mario Ercolani has also retired from tonight's race. We heard he had gotten involved with Anthony Schauer there. He's taken a bit of a bump from behind. Schauer taking the drive-through penalty as a result. But the ensuing repairs may have ended Ercolani's night. So we'll have to see there. Schauer still running in ninth. As Kalinian's gone ahead and navigated some lap traffic here, he'll cross the line. 7 to go right about now. Whenever the ticker changes. There we go. Meanwhile, it looks like Wilf Kern's gotten by Blake Thronberg here for fourth place. And he may try and make a run on Jose Mercado here for third. Expect that one to develop over the next couple laps. Kern's definitely had some speed. Of course, he was on the front row alongside Bryce Fontaine to begin tonight's Mexico 120. So certainly a guy who can find some pace. Oh, whoops. That is, yeah, very much not crank it up time still. So, yeah, we'll get rid of that. Oopsie doodles. And, okay, so, yeah, a bit of an extended crank it up there, obviously. Lots of things happening, of course, as I try to navigate this one with vocal cords intact. A lot easier said than done. Speaking of easier said than done, how about the defending job here from Jose Mercado as he's got Will Kern all over the back of him. Coming through the S's, Mercado running a little bit wide. Is he able to get some pace from that? Able to hold on for the time being as they come back into the baseball stadium section. Again, not a whole lot else going on right now. Just 10 cars on the lead lap here at this point. And this is, without question, well, yeah, in terms of, like, multiple car battles, this is as good as you'll find. But not to be sold short. We'll go back to check in once again on Mike Marini as soon as I can find him. There he is. Making a move on Jared Ireland here for 6th. I think that was, it looked like that was position gained, but might have still held on. Anyway, this battle and the 3-car battle we've been watching, those are without question the closest we've seen on the track here over the course of the evening. So, like I said, 17 runners still on track, 5 retirements here now, but only 10 remain on the lead lap. Oh, and we got contact there between Ireland and Marini, they've been running in close quarters for a good chunk of the evening. And let's see if we can take another look at that potentially. Yeah, so they're coming through the opening chicane. Marini kind of checks up in the middle of it. Doesn't quite have control. Ireland, I don't know that he necessarily had anywhere to go, honestly. But there's the end result, and it's going to find Marini dropping out of that battle. Falls to 9th as a result. But again, one of the guys who's absolutely not going to be troubled by anything is our race leader at the moment by 10.8 seconds. This is Jordan Kalinian out of Salisbury, North Carolina. And just casually navigating through the S's here now. Gained about a second there on Fontaine. I wonder if Fontaine might have had a little bit of a slip there a moment ago to lose a little bit of time. But we'll go back briefly to... We'll go to Charlie Sears here now, who's now running in 8th. Trying to hold off Mike Marini here as he tries to reclaim a place or two after the wobble through this very chicane. Sears certainly with some road course prowess. As we'll see if I have some kind of a notification in my ears. Oh, no, still the same thing. And it looks like it's just going to be seamless navigation here for number 32. We'll go on board with them through this section because why not? Sears has done well for himself to wind up in 8th, having started 7th, so did lose one spot, but ultimately has been able to hang on and is looking to bring it home for a solid result. As we'll go ahead and take that off. And yeah, the field itself is largely spread out here at the moment. So, as I said, just 10 cars on the lead lap here now. And nobody necessarily close to each other. Closest battle you'd be seeing right now would be the man we're on board with, Jose Mercado. And he's attempting to hold off Will Kern. Oh, Mercado with a little bit of a skid, though. And there goes Kern. So there we go. I just literally jinxed the one battle that was happening. So let's go back and take another look at that, because we were just kind of coming on board with them there. So trying to get this to come back. Technology not my friend here tonight. Okay, so here's Mercado coming out of the S's. And yeah, just loses it. There's the skid. And there goes Kern zooming right by. And that is for 4th place. So that's a free spot for Will Kern. And again, the dissolution of the last battle that we were seeing here tonight. So things have really spread out here on the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And everybody's chasing this guy. Again, just an incredible career within the Motorsports Network to this point. 20 wins over the course of 2.25 seasons right now. Quickly pulled himself into a tie for the all-time lead there, as we'll see if there's... Oh, we have a bit of a blow-up here, it would appear. In the form of Kyle Knoll, as you can see, he's very much not on track anymore. Let's see how far back we can get here. Oh, maybe if I hit the replay button instead of live, that'll help me kind of figure out where I need to go. Oh yeah, I think might have just missed the blowout here potentially. Definitely saw some smoke coming out there through 4. And loses it in the S's. Yeah, that will be your race ender. No doubt about that, as we'll skip back to Will Kern. Well, I guess we're going to Mercado. That's the selection at that point. We'll skip on ahead. We are live here now. 2 laps to go. Oh, excuse me. And again, nobody really chasing anybody now. There's a lot of guys kind of locked in, although as I say that, Mercado nearly losing it through 4. So that puts Jordan Kalinian on the final lap. White flag is out for tonight's Mexico 120. And again, this is a ride into history for Jordan Kalinian out of Salisbury, North Carolina. He's able to hold on for these last 2.4 miles or less now. He takes his own place in the record books. It'll be his 21st career victory in the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Jordan Kalinian will stand alone, and let's go on board with him as we'll enjoy this the rest of the way. Coming through turn 4 for the final time. Just a matter of navigating the S's at this point. 12-second gap over Bryce Fountaine. Things looking pretty much in the bag. Just keep her on track. 00, that's the only task at this point. And he's been a calamity for the E-Motorsports Network from the moment he joined. But Jordan Kalinian, as he comes through the final chicane, he's going to show what he's made of one more time, as he's going to drive it straight into the record books, down the final start-finish straight. Jordan Kalinian wins the E-Motorsports Network Mexico 120. He stands alone in the record books. That is 21 all-time victories for Jordan Kalinian. Congratulations. The 00 has 0 equal on that front. As now Bryce Fontaine's come through to finish second. See Blake Thronberg coming through the final couple corners here now onto the start-finish straight. And he's through into third. Will Kern's going to wrap this one up in 4th. There he goes, and yeah, we're all getting wrapped up here now. Looks like it'll be 8 cars that finish on the lead lap, as we're just waiting for a few more to come through. But the story of the night, as it was last week, it's Jordan Kalinian back in victory lane, and again, this one etches him in the E-Motorsports Network record books. So well done. A dominant drive, it has to be said, from our 2-time race winner for this season. And of course, now that wins mean even more point-wise, that should put Kalinian comfortably into top spot in our standings moving into next week. And we'll just go ahead and clear out here for what should be fairly formidable burnout. Let's see what the 00's got for us. I thought he might have been going full reverse there for a minute. And there it is. That looks like job done for the 00 of Jordan Kalinian. And there we go. Looks like we're just about set. Let's throw some unofficial results up here on the board, or maybe not. Not 100% sure what happened there. Let's just see what's going on. I wonder if that's a bug we didn't wind up fixing. But let's give it another go. I'll see if it's maybe something I messed up, or no, it's just kind of showing up blank on me here right now. El Blanco, as they might say in Mexico. And I'm getting a bit of a see what the ensuing notification is here. Let's see if I throw some decrements in here. Still not popping up for me here right away. Yeah, not 100% sure what's going on, but that's something that will get fixed up for next week. But, you know, we've survived this week. That's the main thing, because as you can hear, I'm more or less barking at the moment to get through the end of this broadcast. And, you know, I'm happy to be back, but yeah, certainly, you know, the voice should be better ahead of next week as we as we head to Atlanta, which that'll be an interesting challenge in and of itself. We'll go ahead and take a quick look at the overall schedule here now, and that is going to be, yeah, the Nordic Aluminum Atlanta 200 from, as I mentioned, Echo Park Speedway, formerly Atlanta Motor Speedway. But yeah, that should be another interesting test. It brings everyone right back together. You know, the road courses, they sort of provide a little bit of a different vibe, but yeah, back to normal speed here next week. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this field kind of works out. It'll be my first time seeing them in that setting officially as well. But right now, it's time to check in on the man of the hour here, as I'm going to go ahead and pop into Discord. Hopefully this will work. Let's see. Oh, I'm seeing a boatload of notifications. That's probably not ideal. Let's see. Can I... All right. I'm just doing a little bit of testing here on my side. It should actually... Okay, so... Oh, whoops. What's happened here? All right, so trying to sort out an issue here on my end. I did have Discord the wrong scene, that's why.
Are you able to move them to the broadcast booth, or
Okay, so that's a guest appearance from Jose Mercado, I think, as I finally got it live. Yeah, let's go ahead and pop into Discord. Should be able to move into race winner chat or general, one of the two. All right, let's give this a go. Jordan Kalinian, do we have a copy?
I've got you, Jordy. You able to hear me?
I can hear you, and I mean, I'll be frankly surprised if you can make out anything I'm saying after how tonight went. But I mean, in your case, you really did all your talking on the track here tonight with another dominant performance on a road course. And let me be the first to congratulate you now on being the all-time leader for race wins within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series, first and foremost.
Appreciate it. That's a really big deal. There's a lot of good guys racing this league, so to be able to do that, it's pretty special.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that, you know, it's come over the course of, you know, 2.5, not even 2.5 seasons. Now, obviously, you sort of just jumped in straight away, but we've also seen your
dominance on the road courses over the last couple of years as well. And we came to a new one here tonight in the form of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. So I know you're big on prep when it comes to road courses, but was there anything that kind of stood out for you as you were learning the track leading into this week?
The biggest thing about this track that I found in the practicing and stuff is just the temperature swings really change the track. So, like as the track gets more shaded, you can really go a lot further into the braking zones. Uh, Weirdly, it kind of makes the rear tires a little bit more likely to slip on exit. But just really keeping up with what the weather's going to do is that was big part of being able to get to lead and maintain the lead.
Yeah, and obviously you were able to take that early after, a decent battle there with Bryce Fontaine in the opening stage. And, it seemed like the kind of textbook Kalinian formula once you got into the lead in terms of just maintaining that level of comfort. And yeah, in your case, like in terms of actually having things working out in the car for you, what kind of was the biggest factor in terms of you being able to kind of extend the gap and winding up where you are now?
Yeah, Bryce was quick tonight. Even he got the pole and thought that was going to be pretty hard to get around him. It seemed like he was a little bit slower in the center of the corners than I was, so I was able to really get to his bumper and kind of be able to be there to capitalize on any slips that he might have had, so that he couldn't get that run off the corner that he might have wanted. Uh, so that was the biggest part being there, and then also having Blake behind me being a teammate, he was able to kind of help defend for a little bit and was able to build up a gap because of that while they were battling. So from there, it was just kind of maintaining and keeping it going.
Yeah, so that's an interesting development I haven't really gotten to talk to you about, given that this is my first week back on the air for season 7. What's that dynamic been like with you and Blake as teammates with the prep, given, the battles you guys had last year leading into the, how things ended with season 6? What have you been able to kind of take from him and what have you been able to kind of help him with?
Yeah, the prep's been pretty nice. We don't do a whole lot together during the week, but we'll share a couple tips here and there with what we find if we do a little bit of practicing on our own. And I've been able to help him out with the setups when they're a little bit looser. He's been able to get me a couple tips when the car's a little bit tighter, and we're just kind of balancing out each other's strengths and weaknesses there. And just being able to have another guy watching out for you on the track has been pretty big.
Just a couple of North Carolina boys tearing up some asphalt, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and now obviously given the off week last week, I'd be remiss to leave this chat without asking or without addressing, obviously, this is our first race since the passing of a NASCAR icon in the form of Kyle Busch. Kind of your overall thoughts or sentiments whenever you first heard, and B, is there any kind of characteristic from his real life driving that maybe you apply in the sim or even whenever you're doing your real life racing on the side as well?
Yeah, it's just really sad, really shocking just how quick it all happened, and uh, just really just coming out and doing this and trying to put on dominating performance like he would have. This is kind of his truck series scheme that Fat Boys Designs put together for me here. So being able to come out and dominate a race like he would have with this paint scheme when he was in the truck series, just pretty cool.
Yeah, and certainly it was a fantastic showcase once you had the clean air ahead, and certainly that's been a staple of your road course runs. But next week it's kind of back to reality with Atlanta. So how do we kind of lock back in knowing the kind of environment Atlanta can present here next week?
Yeah, I think we kind of know my track record on the super speedway type tracks with the drafting. Can't say I'm looking forward to it, but having a teammate for this one's kind of going to be a different dynamic. So we'll see what we can do with that one.
All right, looking forward to it. And yeah, before we let you take off here, obviously, it's been a significant milestone you've hit here tonight. Who would you like to acknowledge as kind of being key factors along the way?
Definitely, like I said, Pep Boy Designs for putting together this game for me on short notice. Really appreciate them doing that. Got my sisters here is doing crew chief and duties, so that helps out a lot. Let me focus on the driving and just all the guys from the league for putting this on. It was kind of short notice, and a lot of guys stepped up to do it.
No, that's awesome, and great to be back with you guys from my standpoint. First off, and looking forward to doing it all again next week and through the rest of the season.
congratulations on going back to back here this week, Jordan. And yeah, we'll be chatting with you soon.
Thank you, Jordy.
All right, folks. That was race winner Jordan Kalinian. Again, that is race win number 21 for the 00 out of Salisbury, North Carolina, driving for Control Alt Defeat Motorsports. Again, fantastic team name, first off. And just the same level of clinical performance, it has to be said. So let's see if I can pull up unofficial results here in the background. Might help if I find the mouse first. And yeah, that's not wanting to play nice for me. So we'll just say go ahead and keep an eye on simracerhub.com in the next little bit as we get everything up to date. But yeah, now the focus shifts to Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta next week for the Nordic Aluminum Atlanta 200. And that'll go down Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. And again, as we sign off, once again, I would like to sincerely thank the guys at Leadfoot Racing there for stepping in for me the last few weeks as we worked through a few things, both technical and real, in the meantime, that kind of kept me away from this to start. But I'm happy to be back. As you can hear, I'm very much, full throated back into this, and we're ready to lock in for the rest of the season. So we hope we get back into some exciting action beginning with Atlanta next week. And in the meantime, we'll see you on the straights.